I know that when my mom went into labor with me, my dad was too hungover to go to the hospital, and so he had to go home and take a nap, and she went to the hospital by herself.
I was a home birth like my other siblings.
I was born in Santa Monica, California.
My mom got pregnant with me in South Korea, and she was probably 6 months pregnant when she got on the plane.
I was conceived through sperm donation.
They were living in Winnipeg. I think they had a little house already.
We were a close little family. We had a lot of siblings.
My parents were not married. They got engaged, but they never got married.
And my dad was waiting on his green card. He couldn't get his green card until I was actually born.
My Beverly mom was in a longer-term relationship at the time that she had me. She was dating a woman for about 5 years. Then a few months of having me, they broke up. Bev left her.
I was really imaginative. Like, we would play so many playing pretend all the time.
I was really high energy at home, but when I was around people, I was really shy. I didn't like to talk to people. I was kind of known as the nice kid at my school, and everybody would just say nice things.
I was insecure, but I liked making people laugh and stuff. I was a bully most of the time. I personally felt weak and sad, so I wanted to make others feel weak and sad.
I didn't have that many friends. I really didn't have very many friends at all. Really shy, really reserved. I preferred to stay invisible.
As a kid, I loved sports. I was pretty outgoing as far as I know, and I think each move kind of left me feeling less socially outgoing, but I still retain my love for people. I've moved a lot, so there's been a lot of changing who I am to match the people that I meet.
My mom bought us lots of crafts and stuff. I remember we were first starting to release those humongous entertainment, point and click computer games for kids. I remember she bought one for me and she was so excited for me to sit at the computer with her and show me how to play it.
I remember my dad would cook fried chicken a lot. I also watch a lot of WWE videos of my dad.
One of my most standout memories from my dad, I think I was 7, 8 years old, and at that time, he was supposedly fishing in Alaska. That was not what he was doing, but it's what they both agreed to tell me. He wouldn't call me, he wouldn't talk, he wouldn't send letters, so every once in a while when he did, it would be really, really a big moment for me. It would be huge. I'd be like, oh man, my dad, I can't wait.
My mom was very religiously Christian when I was younger, and then my dad was very Muslim when I was younger. Both very conservative, especially with me being a female in Muslim culture. So I'd say that my relationship with my dad was definitely strained because he had all these expectations of me to be this, Muslim daughter, Arab daughter, whatever, that I just wasn't.
I remember very young, Michelle and my mom started dating. They got married pretty quickly, and that was fine. One of my parents was pretty new to me, but they were my whole life at some point pretty early on.
I do remember elementary school. I think I liked it, but I never felt like I had really good friends. I remember always feeling kind of left out of the people that I wanted to be friends with in elementary school.
I was a bit of a social butterfly in third to 6th grade.
I moved in the 3rd grade, so it was hard making some new friends there for a while. I wasn't popular. I was still I was a little overweight as a kid. Some of the cooler kids would make fun of that, but it's not something that ever got to me after a while.
Elementary school specifically was just kind of super isolating. I was bullied a lot by kids. They would kind of make fun of how weird I was, make fun of my body hair, make fun of my voice, my parents, my family, make racist remarks.
Elementary school was a weird time. I was expecting to go into elementary school in Washington with the people that I'd gone to daycare with, the people that I'd grown up with so far. It was probably 2/3 of the way through kindergarten, maybe halfway through kindergarten that we moved. It was just a weird experience.
I remember in 7th grade just hating school. I would wake up every day and be I just have to make it, I'm just gonna make it to the end of the day and then I get to go home. And I don't remember having any real friends in 7th grade.
Middle school is kind of where I started getting out of my shell. Didn't have too many friends, and I was still adjusting to having moved for a while and having my parents split up, but that's really where I made some of my closer friends.
Middle school was a blur.
Had my little crushes on boys and would Had my first kiss in an art museum.
Where I stood socially in school was my main priority. Didn't matter how I did, I would just move anyway, is kind of how I felt.
High school was pretty good up until the end. In junior year, I started dating, or I got in a relationship that obviously was very toxic, and so I ended up having no friends outside of that relationship. A really great home life, but for the most part, I don't feel like I was thriving in school. I mean, I had great grades, but like socially, I was never thriving.
I did struggle somewhat of first year of just kind of finding out who I was, like more like racially, honestly, around a lot of, Caucasian people, and being an African American, the only one there, but still acting what people would consider Caucasian. It was a little weird.
Like high school was like, standard experience, I think. I had fun, made friends, got a girlfriend, did all the stuff you're supposed to do.
High school was when I was nailing down a style as far as like clothing and art and makeup. I also, just continued to get better at soccer, and so I had a lot of friends through there. My life was really fulfilled, not even just through soccer is where I found my sense of family, but also just kind of, it was revolved around it. My sense of self was just kind of tied to it.
High school was interesting. I moved away from North Carolina right when middle school ended. It's where I really decided I didn't care much about school anymore. And then, of course, after 2 years, we moved again. I barely graduated. I did graduate on time. I barely did it.
It's weird because I've always, aside from on like government forms, identified as being fully white, a Caucasian male. And it's like, I know I'm Hispanic, but it's like I've never lived that life. The closest I've come to my culture is calling my vovo or saying tatuga. It's like, that's as close as I come. I don't really have experience with it, but I guess that's kind of the confusing part about it, is it kind of leaves you in this weird state of limbo where it's like, yeah, I'm white passing, I'm white and stuff, but there is a part of me that's like almost feels like a shame. That's kind of like, am I not as in touch with myself and as with my culture and I guess my people, quote unquote, as I should be?
I was really insecure. I was closeted. I was very repressed. I was just super insecure about myself and the way that other people perceived me. And then I was going through the process of realizing that I was gay and coming out to myself, and then coming out to other people, and trying to come out to my mom, and that consumed, for probably from 14 to 16, that probably consumed about 70% of my waking thoughts, was being closeted. I knew boys that were gay, but I was the first girl that I knew that came out as gay. If anybody had said that I was gay or thought that I was gay, it would have been the end of the world.
When I was in first grade, I remember when me, my dad, and my mom went to go get me registered for classes. Nobody really knew I was black at the time, and somebody had seen me with my dad, and after that day, they bullied me every other day. Then I asked why, and he said his grandpa had told him that black people are not good. I didn't really process any of it. I didn't understand really what race was at the time, having a white mom and a black dad.
I actually don't think having gay moms was ever the biggest deal. I mean, there were a few times when there were problems with it. I remember one kid in my French class in middle school was quite rude at times, but for the most part, anyone at our age didn't really care, and that's all that mattered so much to me, because I wasn't exposed so much to people that were older that were prejudiced against them.
I didn't really even know I was depressed or had trauma until my freshman year of college, when I was alone with my thoughts for the first time, and I just broke down. I had to call the suicide hotline and started going on medication. It's not lucky to have mental health issues, but I think I got as lucky as I could be with them, because as debilitating as they were, I feel like I have learned non-maladaptive coping mechanisms for it. And while I will be dealing with it my entire life, that seems like less and less an arduous task as the days go by.
I started going to counseling, started being recommended SSRIs and other mood stabilizing drugs to try to regulate me when I was just in a place of just complete, in some points, just turmoil. I just hated my life, hated what was going on, especially after the death of my grandma. I just kind of didn't really have a reason to better myself anymore.
Really, I think my biggest adversity was moving as much as we did. It kind of hit me. I realized that was just the way it was going to be. I was not going to get a stable, consistent home to go to.
When I joined a sorority, I found my people, and that's where I kind of turned into myself, figured out who I was or wanted to be as an adult.
Freshman year, I obviously dropped out of college. It was definitely an experience. It kind of opened me up to seeing if you don't do anything, life will pass you by. My dad passing too was a big thing. Just kind of opened me up to, again, the whole fact of life passes you by. I'd say it's a good growing experience though, and getting over it. Of course it was tough, but it's a part of life. I'm more true to myself, I'd say. I've become more comfortable with myself.
The mental health thing, the transition itself has been hard into adulthood, specifically because of my trauma and the way that I view myself as being less capable and less adult than other people. I think I'm really grateful and really attentive to all of the little transitions that happen. I guess the word adult in and of itself has a connotation to it that is, someone who is capable and able to provide for themselves and survive on their own and all that stuff, when realistically it just means that you're over 18 and that's it.
Also, growing up as a mixed person, it was kind of like that thing that most people say, how you're too brown for the white people and you're too white for the brown people. Where I wasn't really wanted or accepted by any of my family. My dad's family just kind of speaking Arabic in front of me kind of half understanding and being like, oh yeah, she's too white for that, she doesn't get it. My sense of self as an adult is much more concrete and ingrained in the fact that I am a culmination of these things and not one or the other. I grew up with such strict parents, I wasn't sure how to transition into being an adult, an individual myself, and finding my autonomy and accepting it was a really, really hard thing for me. And once I realized that I could literally do anything I wanted, whenever I wanted, my life changed for the better.
Changing into adulthood has really been this question of committing and doing the hard work towards achieving those things that I want to achieve. And it's not easy to ask what those are, and it's not easy to do the work for them either. It's so much easier to just sit back and do nothing and just accept things the way they are. It's learning to affect the change in myself and in the world around me that I really think is worth it. And there's a lot that I do think is worth that work. So that's what it's been for me. It's getting to work.